All right, we've been covering all day the news that we are at war with Iran. You can see segments on that have already been published for the broader breakdown and then reactions. And that's what we're talking about here. I referenced the group of people who are still supportive of Trump and are bending themselves into pretzel, swinging from I love him because he's going to end wars and not start any new wars, all the way to actually maybe this is totally necessary despite them lying about the justification. But that doesn't mean there aren't some people who were supporters of Trump or are and are horrified by this news. Before getting to that, look at this that Trump just posted on Truth Social. He posted kind of early in the morning, an article where he writes, or where it's written, Iran tried to interfere in 2024 elections to stop Trump and now faces renewed war with the United States. And you can tell he's just grasping at whatever he can. What are you connecting this to? Election interference? Disturbing. As if to say, they tried to prevent me from becoming president, so now I'm bombing them. Which, if we use that logic, why wouldn't we be bombing Russia for interfering? Or attempting to. So that's disturbing. But then you have Marjorie Taylor Greene writing in response to this post that said, polling review by the administration, I don't know how credible this is, but asked how many American casualties voters were willing to accept in a war with Iran. The answer was 0. Americans demanded 0 casualties because Americans did not support a war. That's how stupid this was. Now, before I show you Marjorie Greene's reaction, let me play this clip one more time.
Seeks to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost and we may have casualties. That often happens in war, but we're doing this not for now.
So as I said, just deeply infuriating. We might have American casualties, but that happens in war. Yeah, but see, this isn't necessary. Don't be sending our family members. Don't be sending our brothers and our sisters and our children, parents, to a needless war based off of a false premise. And I mean, this is the disturbing part about wars. You have the leaders like Trump who avoided being drafted, who would never put himself and his life at risk, but is willing to put other people's for this. Just the quickest pause from the video. If you appreciate these updates, there's going to be so much to update you on, I'm sure, over the next days and weeks. Please do click the subscribe button. It makes a big difference, and then you'll know whenever new videos get published for these updates. Back to the video. So Marjorie Greene responded, the Trump administration actually asked in a poll how many casualties voters were willing to accept in a war with Iran. How about 0, you bunch of sick fucking liars? We voted for America first and 0 wars. So the most sharp criticism we've seen from Marjorie to date. Then she responded to the reporting about 51 Iranian children being killed as a part of the joint U.S.-Israeli strikes in Iran, 60 students wounded after those strikes on a girls' school. And it's just heart-wrenching and sickening. And she responded saying, this is not freeing the Iranian people. This is murdering their children. WTF are you insane people doing? America does not support this. And I mean, I know that she's already before this swung away from being super loyal to Trump, but this kind of gives you a sense of the moment that we're in, that there's so much universal opposition. If you just walked up to any American on the street and said, do you support this? They'd be like, no. Almost all of them. No one really can figure out they're giving us explanations, but no one can follow the logic of it. And it's so dramatically unpopular that I agree with Marjorie Greene. Huh? Then you have Jonathan Karl reporting on Tucker Carlson's reaction.
I've reached out to several of the president's most prominent supporters in his movement to get the reaction to this momentous decision to launch a wide-scale attack on Iran. I just heard back from Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson, of course, spoke at the president's convention in 2024. He's been a frequent visitor at the White House. In fact, he was at the White House just last week. So I wanted to know what Tucker Carlson, who has long opposed the idea of another war in the Middle East, what he thought of this. And his answer, he told me the president's decision is, quote, absolutely disgusting and evil. This is Tucker Carlson, who was at the White House just last week, said that the decision to go to war with Iran is absolutely disgusting and evil.
So, yes, we have to check some of these folks and say, wait, didn't you do everything in your power to get Trump elected? Didn't you lie about what a Kamala presidency would look like in contrast to a Trump presidency? Didn't you bring us here? So yes, I do think that we should note that, okay? And go, all right, wow, so unpopular, you have people across political lines opposed to it. Now, then we get to a different, very notable part of this whole story, which is members of Trump's administration are on the record just a few years ago and up until very recently saying we can't launch a war like this. Back in 2019, Tulsi Gabbard, Trump's director of national intelligence, said war with Iran would make Iraq war look like a cakewalk. And this was the video.
Is there some sort of intervention in Iran on the horizon? Let's discuss it all with tonight's special guest, Hawaii Congresswoman and 2020 presidential contender, Democrat Tulsi Gabbard. Some lawmakers have been briefed. There's a push for all of you to be briefed next week. Are you confident that the administration is taking measures in line with what they actually know?
I'm looking forward to getting that briefing. I can tell you as a soldier, I serve in the Army National Guard. I've been serving for over 16 years. I've deployed twice to the Middle East, and in Congress have served over 6 years on both the House Foreign Affairs and the Armed Services Committees. And I know two things very well. First is the high human cost of war. And I also know the cost on the American people, the trillions of dollars that we've spent since 9/11 alone on waging these wasteful regime change wars, how those wars have undermined our national security and how they have strengthened terrorist groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda. As a soldier, I understand the need for us to be prepared, and I understand the need for us to keep the American people safe. So when we talk about a potential war with Iran, which is looking like we are walking very dangerously down that path, what I think is important for the American people to know is that a war with Iran would make the war in Iraq look like a cakewalk. The devastation and the cost would be far greater than anything we've ever experienced before.
So the president said today when he was asked point blank, are we heading to war with Iran? He says, I hope not.
So that was back in 2019. Now it's actually happened, and she is a part of his administration. And one of the reasons she justified doing this big political flip-flop from being a Democrat, always kind of a strange one, but then swinging to being a Trump supporter and literally working for him, was that he was against wars.
President Trump has pledged to end wars, not start them.
So the only action she could take right now is to hang her head in shame, feel completely humiliated by the, if you want to call it this, gargantuous miscalculation, delusion, that Trump was someone and something that he's obviously not, that we were telling people he wasn't, and then resign. That would be the only slight integrity move. I don't know if she'll do that. She even sold, look at this, shirts that say no war with Iran. Now she's part of an administration that's literally launching war with Iran. Richard said, imagine starting a major war with Iran over their nuclear program when this is on the official White House website. And it says Iran's, I referenced this earlier, Iran's nuclear facilities have been obliterated and suggestions otherwise are fake news. Oh, what? What? How can you have this on the website and also be saying we have to destroy the nuclear program when they said it already was destroyed months ago by them? Remember this video?
Our president will start a war with Iran because he has absolutely no ability to negotiate. He's weak and he's ineffective.
Now there he was talking about President Obama. Obama didn't end up doing that. Instead, he struck a nuclear agreement that prevented them from getting nuclear weapons, but didn't require us to go to war with them. But that phrase applies perfectly now to Trump, of course, because he's the one who pulled us out of the nuclear agreement, which caused the dominoes to fall to where we're at now.